Hello and welcome to the People's Manifesto. So I haven't done this for a couple of days, but work, A-levels, etc. But this is the first People's Manifesto since the very exciting debates. I know 9.9 million people tuned in. Apparently 1 in 4 of them changed their minds. This is going to have a dramatic effect on the election. So I thought, basically, I'd analyse each leader's performance in turn, starting with our delightful Prime Minister Gordon Brown. Now, Brown did surprisingly well. I mean, he didn't do great for anyone other than Gordon Brown. But as the Prime Minister has a bit of a reputation as a charisma vampire, he looked pretty good. He was solid, strong, that's kind of Gordon Brown's image, and nothing radical. If you watch PMQs, then he's just saying the same stuff he's done for a long time, but he was clear, got his points across, and he knew what he was saying. And he even had some killer lines, like my personal favourite, "This isn't question time, this is answer time," where he was sort of taking the mick out of David Cameron's inability to answer questions and just come up with a silly anecdote. But this is all going quite well for Gordon until somebody in the audience mentioned Afghanistan. And if you watch BBC Parliament, which I know all the cool people do, and you see Gordon Brown, when someone mentions Afghanistan, a kind of switch goes in his brain, and he goes into this mode and it's sort of, he's trying to sound sympathetic, but he just sounds condescending. It looks like he's watched an upset person and is attempting to mimic them, and this character really, really does not come off well, especially on screen. And the way the camera was set up, with it straight on Gordon Brown, just standing there on the podium doing this condescending monologue of his, it did just sound like a sort of bad inner thoughts section from a cheap movie. But he only lost a point on the polls, which is quite good for someone who a big media performance like this could have frankly killed. Now on to the leader of the opposition, David Cameron. And my new favourite Facebook group is something like David Cameron's met a black man, a woman and a drug user, Minority Bingo, which is quite an accurate description of the Tory leader's performance. I mean, he didn't really answer any of the questions, he just came up with an anecdote, and this was kind of meant to make him seem more human, more personable, like he was sort of had a personal touch on the issues. But it really didn't, and it just really highlighted the fact that he had no policies, like the quip from Gordon Brown. David Cameron doesn't tend to work in policies, he tends to work in sound bites, which is why the only time he didn't look completely nervous and sweaty was at the end, in his closing remarks, when he was able to go back to his favoured sound bites. I think it was hope not fear this time. But the debates really highlighted how uncomfortable David Cameron is when he actually has to face a question, as he seems to have no idea what he's doing. And I kind of thought that the Tory manifesto actually coming out, outlining details of Tory policies, might have actually ended this, but apparently no. The Tories really don't seem to know what they're doing. Which didn't work for him in the debates, and all the other parties are wondering whether he's actually made these people up, whether he's actually had a conversation with the drug user, etc, etc, and whether they've actually talked to him. And the thing with anecdotal evidence like this is David Cameron can neither prove it, nor can the other parties disprove it, and the allegations being thrown to him might actually be enough to throw this off, and he's gone down 4 points in the polls, because people are starting to see that David Cameron really doesn't have any idea what he's actually going to do if he gets into government, which increases the chance of the hung parliament. Now, I think people have finally admitted that Nick Clegg has won the debate now, despite Gordon Brown and David Cameron's parties trying to claim that they did. Yet everyone's now very much agreeing with Nick Clegg, and the Lib Dems have gone up 4 points in the polls, and I think it's something like 15 points or more of how many people now want Nick Clegg to actually be the Prime Minister. And this is going to throw the election off completely, and a hung parliament is now looking more likely than ever. Score, see my first video. But Nick Clegg was very personable, he talked to the people, he got his point across, and it was something different from the others. Not hugely different, like, say, the Green Party, which I've now joined the Facebook group of, but it was very different to what the others were saying, and it was a little more annoying that he kept going back to getting rid of Trident, but which I support nuclear disarmament, but just going back to it, I think about 4 times in as many minutes, really didn't help his image. But no, he talked to the people, he was loose, and he tried to connect with them on a personal level. I don't know if you saw David Cameron's shameless attempts to copy this. Like, there was one guy that Nick Clegg was talking to personally. Where are you? I can't see you behind the camera. Oh, there you are. And David Cameron did it, and he ended every sentence when he was doing this with "like Nick." Where are you? Like Nick. Oh, I couldn't see you behind the camera. Just like Nick. And it was pretty shameless the way he was trying to copy Nick Clegg's performance. And both the party leaders were going, "I agree with Nick," which shows that the Liberal Democrats are only the real people who are coming up with the new ideas, and that the other parties are just trying to copy them. And this has also put the Lib Dems on a bigger national platform, so this has helped them a lot. And I quite liked Nick Clegg on the debates. I mean, the Lib Dems obviously picked him as the leader because he looks and sounds a bit like David Cameron, but he's really come into his own in this debate. But the most interesting thing about the debates was actually the aftermath and what the other smaller parties said. Because there was this whole thing on BBC News after it about what the other parties were saying. And Plaid Cymru, the Welsh nationalists, were saying that Scotland and Wales were ignored tonight. But they weren't. I mean, Alistair Stewart kept turning around and going, "This is an issue devolved in Scotland and Wales. The Plaid Cymru SNP debates will be at this time." I can't remember, I honestly didn't care. But the way he was very forcibly trying to pronounce Plaid Cymru was interesting to say the least. So they weren't really ignored. And the SNP considered the debates boring. Anyone who's ever heard Alex Salmond speak knows this is a bit hypocritical. UKIP said something strange and right-wing. I can't remember what they actually said, but it's UKIP. And the Greens, Caroline Lucas, I think her name is, leader of the Green Party, said that the environment was ignored during the debates, and apparently the environment is actually in the second debate. But complaining that the environment weren't involved kind of works against the Green Party, because Caroline Lucas is very forcefully trying to change the image of the Greens, less a single-issue environmentalist party and more something broader. And given her only complaint to the debates was the environment, what really works against her in this respect, what she should have done was said that none of the three old parties, none of them were different, they're the real different option, which played off very well for Nick Clegg. So the Sky News debates will be very interesting as well, even though they're on Sky News, and the BBC ones on the economy should also maybe show a little difference in the three parties' policies, which we don't seem to have at the moment. Now, something came up in the debates for me personally on education a couple of days ago, but I'm doing an education special in my next one. So I'll see you then. Goodbye.